All right, welcome to Before Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. This is an extension of 5 on the Floor. Thanks to our sponsor today, Biscayne Bay Brew. This is the Marlins lager. The Heat aren't the only team playing well right now. The Marlins are in a playoff spot. Check out Biscayne Bay Brew at many locations here in South Florida, including a lot of Publixes, but go on their website. Check it out where you can find it. This is the official beer of the Marlins, of Inter Miami, and also of 5 Reasons Sports. We'll have more on them coming up later. We're going to have a post-game stream today, which our guy Alphonse Sidney is going to host probably after a few of these because I'm bringing him some more tomorrow so he can finish up the ones that he has today. And also, we're going to have a post-game podcast. Myself and Greg Sylvander will be on. Let's bring in Greg Sylvander as well as Brady Hawk. We may have some others who are joining us today. Greg is up top with Alejandro, our producer. Also, again, Brady Hawk. And then Alfredo Arteaga, who is joining us, he's 3 yards per carry. He's Dolphins, but doesn't really want to talk about the Dolphins right now. We understand that. So
he's
Alfredo,
Heat too. He's Heat too.
So he's hanging with us as long as this playoff run goes. All right, let's get right to it. We've been waiting a week. Eastern Conference Finals, Celtics, Heat. I wrote today, this is really the only appropriate Eastern Conference Finals. These are the two sort of dominant East teams over the past 15 years. Since Danny Ainge came in 2005 with the Celtics, they had a bad run after Riley came in. Riley came into Miami in 95. The Celtics under ML Carr and Rick Pitino did not make the playoffs their first 6 seasons when Pat Riley was with the Heat. But obviously, they made up for lost time. This is the 7th Eastern Conference Finals since Danny Ainge joined. The 6th, but 7th over the course of the past 25 years. This is the 7th since Danny Ainge joined the Boston that the Heat have made, and the Heat have made 8 overall during Pat Riley's time. No other team in the Eastern Conference has made more over the past 25 years. The only other team that's there, I know Heat fans may not want to acknowledge this, Cleveland Cavaliers. They're actually tied with Boston, but that's all LeBron, as we know. So let's get right to it. We'll get to predictions here at the end. But a lot of noise on Twitter today, and we've talked about a lot of this stuff on the podcast. The one thing I did not expect to be discussing was whether the center matchup between Daniel Tice and Bam Adebayo was a push. This started because of a Josh Robbins, very good reporter, covers the Orlando Magic, but a Josh Robbins column in which he quoted an anonymous scout saying that not so sure that that's an advantage Bam, that Tice is very underrated.
Who's the anonymous scout? Bill Simmons?
No, I think the anonymous scout is Danny Ainge. Brady, you wrote a column about how Bam, basically can take over this matchup. And I view it the same way. This is the one matchup other than the bench in general that is clearly in Miami's favor. Can Daniel Tice give him any trouble? As I die.
I don't think he could really give them any trouble just with the one-on-one matchup, as you mentioned, just being that guy, the only clear matchup that he could take him off the dribble. He can take him out of the paint. He could play make as he's been for a long time. But I think where Bam's biggest impact is actually going to come is on the defensive side. I think when you look at Boston's kind of the offense that they run a lot of stuff through the high pick and roll, which means that Kemba has obviously the opportunity to pull up for a 3, do his step back mid-range or attack the rim. And he has the ability to take over matchups like Marc Gasol because obviously he's so much quicker. But a guy like Bam has the ability to Yeah, so my bad. Yeah, I think that's just for that reason right there. Him picking up just Kemba Walker and different things. That's just going to be the mismatch right there. And obviously the offensive side, he's going to be able to stretch the floor. And the mid range is going to be important for this one. If he can hit that mid range at the beginning of the series and the beginning of the game and make Tice respect that short jump shot, that's going to be a game changer.
See, guys, I think we've got to hammer this down to what's real and what's not. Okay, I think there are real problems for the Heat in this matchup. Jason Tatum is a problem. Boston's defense overall is a problem. But I also think that we're making problems where there are none.
Yes.
Daniel Tice is not a problem. He's a serviceable NBA center. Plays pretty good defense. He's not a problem. He's low budget Birdman. Okay, I'm not going to overstress over Daniel Tice. Kemba Walker, the other one that everybody's freaking out about, because they watched him average 23 against the Heat in the 2016 first round, shot 36% in that first round against the Miami Heat, mostly going against Goran Dragic. And now you've got Jimmy Butler, although I did talk to someone close to Jimmy who says Kemba tends to cook Jimmy. So maybe that's not the matchup that you necessarily want, okay? But Miami has more options to throw at Kemba than that Heat team did. So I don't know why there's all of a sudden I get Kemba's an all-star, I get it to a certain extent, but Daniel Tyson, Kemba Walker, for me, is not where this is at. This is about Jason Tatum. This is about what Jaylen Brown can contribute. I mean, Greg, are we overplaying the wrong things?
Yes, this is what happens when you have too much time to talk about a damn series. And, unfortunately, we've unpacked this thing 5-6 times, it feels like now. And we're at a place where now we're trying to poke holes in things that don't need to have holes poked in. And, I mean, yes, the wings that Boston has, the point of attack stuff with Kemba, all that's super valid. All of a sudden, when you hear Tyson Bam being an even matchup, you start to see that there's people that want to get hot takes during the conference finals that maybe haven't been watching as much or don't necessarily understand the game. So it just, I guess, comes with the territory of being on a bigger stage. There's part of that although it's frustrating, Heat fans should probably embrace it because it means you matter, that you have gas bags that are talking about you in the conference finals and you're not home. But ultimately, the things we need to worry about most is Jason Tatum. You got to take away Tatum. I feel like that's the number one priority in this series.
All right, so Alfredo, let's get to it. Alphonse and I have gone back on this quite a bit, and I think there's some dispute. Alex kind of falls in the middle here. He isn't quite sure. What do you do with Jason Tatum? Does Jay Crowder start on him, or does Jimmy Butler start on him?
I would vote Jimmy Butler just because of the natural tendency for officials to tighten up a little bit with the whistle when it's a star on a star. I feel as if you start with Crowder on Tatum, you could have some quick whistles on Crowder, and that hurts you down the stretch when you're going to need extra bodies to guard Tatum. Because I really do believe that if Jaylen Brown has a bad series, the Celtics have no chance in winning. And I really think that the Celtics have to hang their hat on the health of Gordon Hayward to come back into this series to win it, because I do think that they're the better team when 100% healthy.
Yeah, let's get to that. Let's get to the Hayward factor here, Adam, because Brad Stevens has played this a little bit differently than you typically play it. If it was Eric Spoelstra, he wouldn't give out any information at all. Right? Brad Stevens has pretty much said, he's getting better. He's been doing this. He's been doing that, but he's out of game one. Is there gamesmanship going on there? Is Brad just being too honest? And how much does it matter when and if Hayward comes back?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think if you look at the way that Brad Stevens is putting it, I think he wants to leave room for questions from the Heat, whether or not he's going to come back sooner rather than later. I personally think that he'll be around game 3, game 4, maybe. He still has the birth of his son that he has to attend to, so he has to leave the bubble and then possibly come back afterwards. So I think around game 4, we should see Gordon Hayward. And then on top of that, I think we'll see him come off the bench. I don't think he'll come back starting because that starting 5 right now, they're clicking, they're working. I don't think you mess with that. So I think just to get him some minutes, to get him going, they'll get him off the bench, whether it's game 2, game 3, game 4, whatever it is. I don't think Hayward is going to be that big a factor in this series, personally, because you can't just come back from an injury that you've been out for 4 weeks right into the Eastern Conference Finals, So I think Hayward's not that big a factor.
But I'm with you on him coming off the bench. I think that is what you do. I don't think you move Marcus Smart out, particularly once you've established some of the matchups. But the reason I do think it could be a factor, even though we've seen – and I'm just keep going to this because Stan Van Gundy talked about it on 5 on the Floor, bringing Jameer Nelson back, and that was kind of a mistake in the NBA Finals in 2009 because Rafer Alston was playing a lot, and then Jameer came back, and he was not very effective. So I get it. Sometimes you bring a guy back who's not healthy, and it doesn't work out. But Boston's bench, and we'll go to Jakari on this, Boston's bench is so bereft of Alf is actually sitting in the ESPN studios. Boston's bench is so bereft of playmakers. They don't have any. I mean, I don't consider Wanamaker one. You're talking about the 2 Williamses they're bringing off the bench. That I do think Hayward matters because even if he's at 70%, 60%, he's a hell of a lot better than anything else they're putting out there on the wing.
Yeah, they don't have any shot creators coming off the bench without Hayward being there. I do think that Gordon Hayward won't matter in the series either way if he was healthy. Because I just think Jason Tatum's the best. I think Tatum's is the motor to their team. More so Tatum, but I do think Jaylen Brown Tatum's the best player, but I think Jaylen Brown is like the true motor to their team because when he's playing well, they kind of look unbeatable. Because I think they feed off his energy and stuff like that. But I don't see I see the Heat winning this series just because the Heat are the better team in my opinion. No Gordon Hayward. I think they have a better bench. They have guys that they can go to in spot minutes. Kendrick Nunn is gonna be big in this series because he's gonna have to be the other shot creator coming off the bench for Miami because without the other guys are more drive and kick, set them up for shots. So I do see that, but I think that Duncan Robinson won't be a true factor this series because I think they're gonna deploy Marcus Smart on him. Just to take him out the game because I feel like with the dribble handoffs he gets, it kind of creates a lot of motion on Miami offense because when they get in the dribble handoffs and they're biting on that, they're hitting the backdoor cuts, stuff like that. So I just see Miami as the better team. They're the harder team as well, and they've been playing more effective. I think that series going 7 games kind of killed the Celtics' momentum, even though they were able to muster up enough effort and energy to win a game 7.
It's interesting what you're talking about with Smart, and I think we need to delve into this more because I'm torn about where Duncan Robinson's most significant impact will be in this series. Is it going to be and I think, Brady, you tweeted that the first basket of the game is going to be a Duncan Robinson 3. And we have seen that Spoelstra will come out trying to get him going early to run a play, whether it's first play of the game or first play of the half, right? But I almost think at this point, with what we've seen through 9 games, where Duncan was really only a big factor in 1, at least as a three-point shooter, he was sort of a factor in 3 others and not really in the other 5, that it's almost like Duncan Robinson's most important impact to the Heat right now is as a decoy. And I kind of feel like if they put their best defender on him, and they got two other very good defenders on the wing, but if they put their best defender on him, you've made things a little easier for Jimmy. You've made things a little bit easier for Goran. It does make me think that maybe you want to put Marcus Smart the way Goran's playing.
But this is why I say they put Smart to start off on Robinson because I think Smart's can rattle him. That's what I think they're trying to get him off for the whole series because Duncan's gonna have a game where he heats up from 3. He's too good of a shooter not to get going. But I just think you go ahead and put Marcus Smart over him because he comes off a lot of screens. Marcus Smart is one of the best on ball, and he fights through screens. He's going to draw a lot of fouls on Bam Adebayo just fighting over the screens trying to get the call. And then I just see them putting him on early because you can sacrifice Jaylen Brown to guard Jimmy Butler, and then you could go ahead and, Goran Dragic is going to have his way anyway this series because their guards can't guard them. They're going to put Marcus Smart Jimmy Butler, or they're gonna deploy him on Duncan Robinson. So the best 2 defenders would be guarding those 2 guys. So I think Goran's gonna have his way either way. But I do think Bam Adebayo has to open up his offensive game this series so he can go ahead and get going because he's great as a passer, but he does have the touch to knock down that mid-range shot, and he hits it. And I just think if he hits that shot, it's gonna make the defense stop. They can't drop down on the screen or run that drop coverage because you'll be leaving him wide open on the mid range. So you'll see a lot of backdoor cuts with them if they open it up for him.
He just needs to shoot it. Go ahead, Brady.
I don't see the Duncan Robinson thing being as much as a problem just because their defensive scheme is a lot of switching, which means that Smart is not going to be on him on those dribble handoffs. And if he's not, it's either going to be a Duncan 3 or Bam's going to have the advantage of having Smart on him on a lot of those plays, which is what happened in those earlier matchups. So I think there's an advantage there's more of an advantage in this series for Duncan Robinson than the past 2 series.
Let's get to something else you tweeted, Brady. I'll throw this at the other guys. Bam and Olynyk started together in the bubble game against Boston. Now, I know that the Heat were going through a little bit of transition there. It was kind of the period of time where Nunn was moving out of the starting lineup. They hadn't really settled on Jay as a starter yet. But they moved him. They put the 2 of them together. We know that 2 years ago, that was the Heat's best combination, Bam and Olynyk. Also, you tweeted the numbers that in the bubble. What is their offensive defensive rating in the bubble with the two of them playing together?
Yeah, in the playoffs, it's a 131 offensive rating and a 68 defensive rating with them two on the floor.
They're basically doubling up other teams with the two of them in the game at the same time. So, Adam, do you see that as something viable? Obviously, Boston knows Olynyk. They know Crowder too. Okay, yes. Right? But but do you see that as viable to use the two of them together more often?
I think it is viable, but only in small stretches where you can come in for 5 minutes and you have Kelly and Bam, Kelly firing off threes. But I don't think it's like a long term for more than 7-8 minutes sort of thing, because then you can fall into issues where Kelly will get run off the court defensively. And I think the shorter bursts that you have with those two on the floor, the better. But I think that if you leave Kelly on the floor for too long, I think he might be an issue defensively, especially if the Celtics are running a breakaway, which is Tice.
I do think you can hide. I think you can hide Kelly Olynyk on Daniel Tice though when they're out there though. So I don't think it's that big of a defense.
Well, could you hide him on Williams? I mean, either of the Williamses also. I mean, I don't.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, they're just spot up shooters, and you're giving them room to shoot the basketball anyway. You're living with them hitting threes.
And I think this is like a third quarter thing. Like, you're not going to be putting Bam on Tatum or any of these people trying to do this early in the game, obviously because of foul trouble reasons. I think this is more of a second half thing that you're going to see, kind of a, like Adam said, a short spurt is kind of where you are going to look. You're going to try to get a spark in your team that you're going to put that lineup in, that I think they could hold their own defensively. Obviously, if you have to do it if Tice is on the floor, or obviously, like you said, Williams, I think that's the only way you could possibly do it. And on offense, I think there's a lot of things that you could do with that, because if you look back at those earlier matchups, they even were putting Jaylen Brown on Bam on some of those Olynyk minutes with Bam. So that's just another advantage for Bam that as we've been talking about, that he could just work these smaller guys.
Alfred, do you think we see much zone in this series from Spo? That's the one thing he's held out.
I would say you're going to see plenty of it, but on the Kelly Olynyk, Bam Adebayo thing, I wouldn't expect to see it too much of it, because Jaylen Brown, Daniel Tice, that's a pick and roll combination. So is Kemba Walker, Daniel Tice. It's a thing for Boston. They tend to run a lot of pick and roll with him, and he's a good pick and roll player. He can catch it, and he can finish at the rim. I don't want Kelly Olynyk defending a bunch of pick and rolls in this series against Kemba Walker or Jaylen Brown. I do want Bam Adebayo defending those pick and rolls. So, yeah, Kelly Olynyk, I don't know if we're going to see too much of Kelly Olynyk and Bam together, but can we see a lot of him when maybe Daniel Tice is not on the court? Yeah.
The thing is, it all works in theory, but remember, the Celtics are going to have a bench rotation that's of 7 or 8 players max. And if that seventh person is going to be, let's say, Robert Williams, they're going to be in the game for what, 10 minutes? So in theory, it works that you can have Kelly on the floor when Robert Williams is on the floor. Otherwise, I don't see how that's a viable solution.
Do we have the starters yet before we get to anything else? Has the Heat put those out yet?
No starters, but all rookie teams were announced. None was announced as a first team, and Tyler Hero second team. So
expected.
Exactly expected. No surprises.
Expected, and again, that thing is flipped as we kind of expect that to happen. Starting lineup is out. It is also what we expected: Dragic, Robinson, Butler, Crowder, and Bam. Let's get to the bench. We start making picks here. Let's get to the bench, because we have talked about Kendrick Nunn. We've also talked about Derek Jones Jr. I don't really see a place for Myers Leonard in this series, at least at the start.
No.
And I don't think you'll see. I know Heat fans want to see Akpala. It's not time, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of Solomon Hill.
We won't see it. We won't see him in 2021.
2021. Akpala or Tua? Who do we see first? Right? That's
Tua.
That's the debate. Let's get to the bench rotation for the Heat. We know you're going to see Kelly. You know you're going to see Hero. You know you're going to see Iguodala. Okay. Do they go 9? And who's the 9th? Is it Nunn or is it Derek Jones Jr.?
So the old Pat Riley narrative, his whole saying has been be able to play 9, Be able to play 8, but trust 7, something like that. I think is how it goes.
It's a paraphrase. He kept changing it over the years. But
Yeah.
yes, it's basically at the end you're trusting 6 essentially.
Right.
Trusting.
So no, but I think in all seriousness, they're going to trust 8, and then the 9th will be spot minutes, and it'll all come down to what they need. I think that if they have any kind of offensive issues, Kendrick Nunn's the guy. They're going to try to get him going and see if he can kind of regain some of that magic. If it's defensive, they're going to go DJJ, and it's just a matter of seeing game by game which direction they go. This is a Tyler Hero series. I would love for Tyler Hero to start torching them, and they feel they're compelled to put Marcus Smart over there, and then that will kind of freeze other stuff up, because I think that a couple guys, Goran and Hero particularly, have a chance to get going in this series to the point where the Celtics have to make an adjustment and slide over one of their key defenders onto one of those guys where you wouldn't have initially anticipated that. And that's going to free up things for other guys. So I think there's going to be a surprise here. When Spo alluded to it in the press conference the other day about there being a trick up his sleeve, we'll say, I think that there's something there. We just don't know what it is.
I think he was just letting Ira talk, to be honest. And then
or that.
Essentially just close it out. Go ahead, sorry.
I see it. To me, it has to be Kendrick Nunn because they need that off the bench. They need that other offensive creator. Just because Boston, who they do bring off the bench, they're okay defenders. They're coming in 3-and-D guys. So I think having Kendrick Nunn getting going, knocking down his shots, I think that opens up the offense for the second unit. Obviously, defensively, like with DJJ, when he comes in, I think that's when we'll see the 2-3 zone if he's playing. I do, because Kemba Walker's a great pick and roll player. So I think DJJ would play a role. Like I agree with what Greg was saying about it's just being different. But in my heart, I want it to be Kendrick Nunn just because I feel like his offense is going to be needed with that second unit, because Boston, to me, is going to defend the three-point line because Miami's been on fire from 3. So you're going to see a lot of them rolling, like closing out, moving them off the three-point line. And if you got a guy who can get to the lane, get the foul calls, knock down the mid-range, it'll be a lot easier for those guys to still shoot the 3 points.
I think
go ahead, Brady.
I think the Hayward, go back real quick about Tyler Hero. I think the Hayward absence helps him in this series. That's why he's going to be a big factor, obviously, because Smart coming off the bench, that was a big problem for him. We kind of looked at it before. It was like Goran and Tyler were coming off the bench, and it was kind of like who he chose to guard was the other one was going to have the big game. But now it's clear that Tyler's going to have the ability, not that he's not going to guard him when he comes in, but he's going to have the ability to not have to guard him with fresh legs, obviously. So he's going to have a chance to kind of take the load offensively once again in rookie year in the Eastern Conference Finals. So
yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's going to play those fourth quarter minutes. I don't think there's any question.
Let me say this. Everybody that's been gassing up Daniel Tice, they're right in one respect. He gets into foul trouble, they have serious issues because he's important to what they do, especially with those two players, Kemba Walker and Jaylen Brown.
He's a good team defender too.
Yeah, and he's good and he's good defending the pick and roll, but he's also handsy. Like he will get himself into foul trouble. So the Heat can't be afraid to run their own pick and rolls with Bam and Goran and run them early and run right at Tice. Try to see if you can get him to early foul trouble because he goes to the bench with foul trouble. They have issues. Like
question: do you see Enes Kanter playing a role in this series at all? He's been shelved, but he can give them 5, 6, 7 minutes of offense. Can he?
He can give them offense, but what is he going to give them defensively?
I know the other end. I get it.
If Miami goes to Kelly Olynyk, I think they can, like, with the Olynyk and Bam, I can see them throwing Kanter out there because they kind of trade off each other and what they're going to do offensively. So he'll be getting buckets on Kelly Olynyk, obviously, because he's a great post player. But I don't see Enes Kanter playing. I do think that we're underestimating Robert Williams because I do think he matches up better with Bam Adebayo than Daniel Tice. More athletic guy, shot blocker, active on the defensive end.
I'm with you guys on this, and I want to get to the picks for the whole series, and then we'll close this thing out and get ready for the game. We're going to do a post-game stream. Alf's going to host it, and I'm going to host the post-game pod. But I think it was Jakari, you said, to me, Jaylen Brown is the barometer in this series for Boston. Tatum's had some up and down games, but I feel like he'll come to a level. If Jaylen Brown's killed the Heat this year, He's really hurt the Heat, and we haven't talked about him as much maybe as we have about Tatum and about Walker, because I feel like so much attention has been gone their direction. Jaylen Brown has a big series. I look at it kind of like if Chris Middleton had a good, efficient series for Milwaukee. I think that's problems for Miami. He's, like you said, he's kind of their engine defensively. He plays with intelligence. I think that that's an issue there. All right, let's get to some of the picks. We're going to start. Adam, you're first. Who do you like in the series?
Yeah, sorry to be a downer, but I have the Celtics in 6 in this series. It's just they have too much firepower, and I think just in terms of the wings, it's too much for Miami to handle. I think the Heat are young, they're good, but they're just too young to be able to contend with these wings that they have. So I'm going to go Celtics in 6, but I like the Heat today.
So you think they win today, but then it catches up with them a little bit?
I lose 4 out of 5?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Alfredo, you're up.
Well, I was certain when I picked the Heat to sweep the Pacers in the first round, and I felt good about the Heat over the Bucks in 7. If the Celtics were completely healthy, I would feel really good about picking the Celtics in 7, but they're not healthy. I think the Heat ride a hot hand, get a series lead, and just eke out this series. Heat in 7.
Brady's disappeared for a second. Greg's got to go last because I kind of know where he's going. Jakari, who do you like?
I think the Heat win in 7 games. I just think Miami's a little battle tested and they're more mentally tough than the Celtics. I.e. the shot that they gave up to force a game 7, basically because they had the Raptors dead to rights. They came out, they gave up the shot, changed the whole series, and Boston does have mental lapses like that a lot. So I do think Miami's experience, I think Coach Spo helps them and coach them through the moment. And I kind of expect Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler to Tyler Hero mostly to ascend up to that ladder, and he got the gene in him. He's not scared of the moment. So I got Miami in 7. I know Adam alluded to the Celtics being a younger team, but I just think the Celtics have too many mental lapses.
Go to it. Well, Brady's coming back. I'll let you go. Brady, who do you like? Series.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Heat in 7 just because I think if it goes 7, Miami wins the series. I don't see in a Game 7 opportunity. I like Miami's chances a lot more. Like I said before, I think this is going to be a big Bam Adebayo series for all the reasons mentioned before. And we're going to see a lot of Bam and Olynyk. We're going to see a lot of Tyler Hero off the bench scoring-wise. And obviously Jimmy Butler is going to have to get to the line and get their other team in foul trouble because that's what he's done all season against Boston. Marcus Smart fouled out in that bubble game before, which is basically why they won that game. So yeah. Butler's going to have to attack and get other guys in foul trouble, which will ultimately, I think, it'll be Heat in 7.
Greg.
Guys. Jimmy is 4 wins from the finals. This is his team. He came here, got slandered by the entire country, and he has 4 wins from the NBA finals. He is going to be the best player in this series. He is the most playoff-tested veteran in this series. And ultimately, it's Heat in 5, and Danny Ainge can manage his own summer vacation.
Heat in 5?
Heat in 5.
You heard it. Yes, sir.
That's good.
The only reason why I picked the Heat, though, is because the Heat and the Lakers have been the best 2 teams in the bubble.
Well, here's my concern about picking the Heat, even though I'm doing that in 7. The league wants Celtics Lakers.
Of course.
And I think that's going to become more evident as we go. I don't know who the officials are today. We're going to get a Tony Brothers game. We're probably going to get a Mark Davis game.
Scott Foster.
A Scott Foster game. And so that is a concern here. But here's why I like the Heat. And some of it is what Greg's talking about with Jimmy. But most of it is Bam and Tyler for me. I think we're going to see both of them go to another level. I think the extra week that they had, I think they're both kind of to me, this whole season for both of them has been about processing who they can be. And I think that both of them, just listening to their comments, they get it now. And I think I think it goes to 7. I will tell you, I communicated with some people who communicate with a lot of players, and I said, I think Heat in 7, and they said, you're giving it too many games. There's a lot of confidence, around this team right now. But I will say that I do think it goes 7. And I think in the 7th game, what it comes down to is I think Bam wins his matchup decisively. I think Hero leads a bench that is much better. And I think if Boston gets to the end of another 7-game series, after just having to play a grueling 7-game series with Toronto, I think that little bit of rest makes a difference. I don't think Hayward makes enough of a difference to turn it. So I like the Heat in 7. So we've got 5 for the Heat here. 1, Adam, you're out.
Ethan.
You're out there. What's that?
Ethan, I'll say this: if it does go 7, that means the Heat figured out enough stuff where I feel confident that they win.
No.
If it goes 7, I feel good.
But
I
when
don't think it goes 7.
When it comes to game 7s, though, it's about who's the best.
Look at him
who's the best
backtracking.
players on the floor.
Moonwalking back that tape.
I'm
Moonwalking it back.
Buy our T-shirts. What T-shirt are you wearing? You don't wear the T-shirt. What T-shirt are you wearing? Get the Dragon shirt. 5reasonsports.com. We got shooters. Sorry, I know I said you.
I don't have the Heat one though. I have the other one.
You got the other one. All right.
Yeah.
We got Floor Pass. So check out. Type in the code Floor Pass. You get 10% off. We'll be some of the folks will be back here post game with Alf. He's got a new sponsor for that show, Simple Advisors. So check that one out, and we will be back on the podcast. I think Brady, you're going to be with me on the pod along with Greg.
Yeah.
Heat in 7.
You guys will see me on Friday at the 5 Reason Kane 6 Ring show.
That's right. Check out the 6 Ring show. Good show. This channel is not just for Heat, okay? Although I think a lot of people think it is. We also have Dolphins, Canes, Marlins, and all that other stuff on here. So make sure you check that out. This was the latest episode of 3 Yards for Carry and 5 Rings Canes. Enjoy the game.
Culture.
All right. Okay, let me see. Okay, thank you guys for joining us during our pregame show. We're going to leave you guys with Kelly Olynyk's words before the game about facing the Celtics once again, now in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Hey, Kelly, I know there's so much to put your attention upon, particularly defensively with dealing with the Celtics. Is there a job one that's a must for you all if you're going to be successful in this series?
I don't think it's, one thing. We just got to be together on both ends of the floor. Whatever our schemes are, whatever the game plan is, as long as we're together in it, then we'll be all right.
Christos Saltas from STNA Greece.
Hello, Kelly. 2 questions. First of all, how special is this series for you personally? And also, how different are the Celtics about their style of play since you played for them?
Obviously, it's a big series. It's the first time we're back to the conference finals. Obviously, me being there with the Celtics, definitely, it's good to go against them. For us, obviously, it's way different than when I played there. There's only 2 guys who I played with that's still on that team, just 3 years ago. So, different style, different personnel, but, same coach, same philosophy, same offensive style.
Hey, Kelly, you just mentioned you played for Brad Stevens. You've obviously you're playing for Coach Spo now, 2 of the best coaches in the NBA. Do you see similarities between those 2 guys, or are they very different?
There's definitely similarities. Obviously, like you said, they're 2 of the best coaches in the league, and to be successful in this league, you got to do some of the same stuff. But they do have their differences, as well, and that's what makes them unique, and that's what makes our 2 teams different.
Kelly, I know you know as well as anyone things change in the NBA, but you had a really good team when you guys went to the conference finals that year, and maybe you had a sort of a bright future. The Celtics decided to go in a different direction. Obviously, they got Tatum in the draft. There was the Gordon Hayward summer. Is there a part of you that wonders what might have been if you kept it intact? And is there a part of you when you get that close to getting to the NBA finals that maybe in some parts of your mind wonders, why can't we just keep a good thing going?
Yeah, I guess there's always if it's not broke, don't fix it. But everybody's just doing their job. Obviously, Danny Ainge is doing his job. People who, sometimes it's tough. You're trying to get better every single year, or you're trying to, make. It's also business. Money goes into it, salary cap, all that kind of stuff. So it's different. Obviously, like you said, we had a great team, who really played together. Played with each other and. We had a good run there. Obviously it would have been cool to see, what we could have done, the following year or the next year. But, sometimes in life that doesn't happen. And but I'm, happy to be back with this opportunity and this team. And hopefully we got something good going right now.
Kelly, what's it meant to you to have the availability to golf here on the campus? How much enjoyment have you derived from it? Have you played with any other players from other teams? And have you heard who the best golfer here is?
All right, that's it. We're not gonna hear Kelly Olynyk talking about golfers. We're gonna end it up here. So thank you guys for joining us for this pregame. We're gonna be doing a live tweeting party here in our YouTube channel. We're gonna start around 6:30. So in like 10 minutes, we're gonna be here checking what the guys are tweeting during the game. So you guys can send your messages. Thank you for. I mean, we had around 200, 300 messages here in the system right now. So thank you for all the messages. We're gonna be reading all of those. Please join us for the live tweeting party that we're gonna do during the game. We have Celtics in 6, Heat. My wife loves this guy. My wife loves me too. Thank you, Jason. And Neve, do have it for you. Heat, baby. Okay, thank you guys for being here and for being part of the 5 Reasons Sports family. We're gonna be again during the game doing this live tweeting party. We're just gonna watch and be reading what the guys are tweeting during the game, and of course, right after the game, we're gonna have the post game show here at 5 Reasons YouTube channel. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you soon.